I've been getting a lot of comments about this, so I figured I'd make a video about it. So let's talk about my asthma. I was diagnosed, I think, in the 2nd grade. It was probably, it had to be about 2004. And at the time, I knew a decent amount of kids who also had asthma, probably between 1 in 7 and 1 in 10. And, I mean, it was in like a class of 30 students. I knew 3 or 5, or I guess 2 or 4, and I was the 3rd or 5th. But as the years progressed, I knew fewer. And it's not that I didn't know other people who did. It's everybody, I guess, grew out of theirs. And I was told, oh, well, I was told by my peers. I gotta say that. I was told by my peers, oh, you'll grow out of yours. And I never did. And that probably has to do with why I even have asthma in the first place. In the 1st grade, I got horrendous pneumonia, borderline life-threatening. I was home from school for almost 30 days. And my mother was a smoker. And she was up until like 2 years ago. And I was spending a lot of time around my mom. And, yeah, pneumonia and smoke, they don't go well together. So I ended up with asthma. I was diagnosed officially like maybe 6 months to a year later at most. I want to say it was in the winter of 2004. Not sure. I knew I was kind of a special case from that moment because while most of my peers were going to the nurse for their inhaler once a month, twice a month, I was going like once a week. And it wasn't good. So just so we understand, just on an operating level, how asthma works, is there's really 3 different like things at work here. So let's say this. Oh, that's not on camera. So let's say this is your let's say this is the airway of a normal, healthy person. With asthma, those walls are a bit inflamed, so you got less room to work. And because they're so inflamed, they're very sensitive. So things like, hot weather, physical activity, really cold weather, spicy food, perfumes, that causes the walls of the airway to like seize up, to like twitch, and that limits your airway even further. And the walls of the airway to begin with they're normally very loose, but in someone who has asthma, and this is more with bronchitis, they're very rigid. They're very stiff and rigid and thick. So that's even less room you got to work with. So you've got a problem moving air from, here in, getting it to the lung and getting it into the blood. And believe it or not, this is actually under control. I know, like, again, a lot of people say, oh, well, you always sound out of breath and you're breathing really, really hard. It's under control. Shockingly. Also, worth noting, pneumonia ruins the cardiovascular and the respiratory system. And I got it in the 1st grade, and then I got it again in the 7th grade, and I was afraid I was going to get it every 6 years. I never got it in my freshman year of college. But my asthma is technically under control. I'm on 2 different inhalers. I'm on an everyday inhaler, and I'm on a rescue inhaler. The everyday inhaler is a Symbicort. It used to be an Advair from like 3rd or 4th grade up until like freshman, sophomore year of high school. But now it's a Symbicort, and the medicine inside kind of functions in the same way. I'm not sure the specifics, but my knowledge of it is the medicine in that inhaler kind of helps to ease some of the inflammation of the airway, kind of open that back up over time. Whereas this, and I actually did look into this one, I did research on this guy. This is a ProAir albuterol sulfate inhaler. And what albuterol does is it kind of loosens up the lining of the airway, which that's why it's a rescue inhaler. If someone cannot breathe, you give that to them, and it relaxes the muscle or whatever in the airway and opens that back up so they can breathe. I've been told by my doctor I'm probably going to live with my asthma for my entire life, which mirrors my father. I also kind of got this from my father. My dad's been on inhalers pretty much his entire life, and my mom spends time on and off of the Symbicort and the ProAir. Weirdly enough, my younger brother and my older brother don't have asthma. I don't know how they got so lucky. something happened there. But I've been told I'm living with my asthma for pretty much my entire life. I can do other things to kind of suppress it, but I'm never going to, like, I'm pretty much never going to be cured of my asthma. It's here to stay. So then the million-dollar question becomes, why'd you get into commentating if commentating and saying things is hard to do if you're an asthmatic? Lack of foresight, honestly. But now I'm monetized, so you're going to live with this for a while, because I'm going to keep doing this, because now it's technically maybe paying money. That's a weird way to pin that at the very end of this video. So, that's pretty much my asthma story. It's a very short version. The original version of this video was like 18 minutes, but then I realized I wasn't recording the camera, so that wasn't good. So please don't ask in the comments anymore. And if you do, if someone does, I guess just link them to this video, maybe. Don't link them to this video within the comments of this video, though. That's just, you'll tear a hole through realities or something.